Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee or a delicious menu item while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Come by and say hello to Maui. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
So I'm like, what comic books are you reading?
Indie comic books, Kelly. We're always reading indie comic books because they're just so much more fulfilling to read and so much more fun than what we're finding in, where you work. That place that just had its CEO quit. No, he wasn't CEO. He was general manager. I don't know. Top dog walked out, found a new fire hydrant. And we don't know what's going to happen with DC. They're going to be fine. My hope and dream, they just called Jeff Johns in to write a book. While he's writing, they can say, hey, Jeff, we just had a position open up unexpectedly, and, you kind of have experience. I might actually come back to DC Comics if that were to happen. But I don't hold out much hope for that. Anyway, tonight we are going back into the world of crowdfunded comics, and with us we have art promoter and comics creator Phil Russertt. Phil, welcome to the show, sir.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me, man.
Glad to do it, sir. So art promoter, that's when I asked you for some representative art, representation, I don't know, art for the book. You sent me these beautiful pictures. I'm like, wow, this guy can really crank it out.
Oh, you know what it is? I'm an art rep, and when you said representative art, I thought you meant from the people that I represent. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I knew exactly what you thought I meant. I looked at it, I'm like, this is really cool stuff, but I can't put that on the thumbnail because that's not the book. But
I'm sorry.
But how do you get into that business?
Well, long story short, I've been an avid reader for a long time, and I started doing my own conventions, and I've met a lot of, big name industry people and a lot of, artists overall. And someone approached me once and said, you should be an art rep the way you support artists. And I thought about it. I didn't think I was ready. 2 years later, after learning more about the industry, how things work, because I don't want to go in blind. I don't do anybody any service. I just started contacting people and saying, hey, I'm going to be, this is my company that I started up. And if you're interested in representation, and here we are.
So what do you do as an art rep? I mean, if I'm an artist who's doing comics, don't I already know the editors and publishers? And I just,
well,
where do you come in?
I have some friends that are, have already got industry credit that I could have represented and taken the easy way out and sell their art and make money. But I wanted to take artists that are hungry and struggling and trying to get out there and help them achieve. So, there's different things you can do, but overall, you can, if you're an artist agent, you're finding them work, you are shopping their portfolios to the big industry, the publishers, and you have to know who you're shopping to. You have talent coordinators, not necessarily editors, things like that. You're selling their art, doing live art sales, doing shows and getting them to shows and selling there, helping increase their marketing and exposure. Even getting them indie work, of course, on books, because comics are comics. Let's get to drawing. And you handle the financial and the business side of things, because most artists, they don't want to bother with that. They want to draw. That's their passion. That's their love. They want to create. And it bogs them down when they have to sit here and worry about negotiating rates, or they're just not good at it, because you kind of, have to stand your ground. You have to be firm and say, look, I'm worth this. That's it. And a lot of artists, I don't think, realize their worth sometimes, So that's where I step in, and I protect them, and I vouch for them, and I fight for them, and I try to get them the best rate possible, so that they're not wasting their time.
I totally know where you're coming from there when you say, the artists, they just want to draw. That's their passion. I started a shipping business for international comics, and I had domestic people saying, hey, can you ship our crowdfunded campaign? I'm like, yeah, but you're already in the U.S. It's not going to save you money. And like, yeah, we don't want to do it. So I'm like, okay, I get it. That's time you can be drawing and writing. So I get that entirely. But to do what you do, it's not just that you know the artists and you've made connections with them. You've actually had to make connections with the business side of certain comics publishers and such, so that you can be recognized by them. I mean, an agent's no good if they don't know a publisher, right?
Correct. And again, it's not just you have to know the right people in there. I mean, everybody thinks editor in chief is the one to go to. There's a lot of editors that you deal with in DC Marvel. There's a different editor for the Bat family, the Superman, and there's talent coordinators, and they're the ones that ship it to all the editors and look and see. So you got to know. It takes a lot of research, a lot of networking, which I've done over the years, and it's not just networking and knowing who to reach out. You have to try to establish some sort of rapport with them, where they respect you and they trust you. I mean, if I were to pitch them someone who's not ready for prime time, then I don't look like I know what I'm doing. And next time I send an email, maybe they don't even bother opening it, and that
Yeah.
hurts my artist. So I try to get them ready. I try to make sure that they're ready for prime time, and not just that, but the presentations there, and understanding that edits are part of the business, so you can't be hurt or offended if they come back and say blah blah blah, and they're not going to coddle you when they say it. They're going to say we need the face changed. Period. You just got to do it. And deadlines. Those are the three big things. You've got to know how to tell a sequential story. You've got to meet deadlines, and you've got to have a thick skin and understand that edits are not an insult to your talent, but they're part of the business, because nobody can read anybody's mind, and that may not be what they wanted in the book. Do those three things, and you're good.
Yeah, and deadlines are becoming more and more of an important focus in the crowdfunded industry. We hear so much lately about late comics, especially these bigger crowdfunding campaigns that had a lot of hoopla around them, but they were due some time ago, and we're kind of still waiting on them. So
yeah, I think that's where indie is going to always be behind, no matter how much the quality of a book gets better. We don't have distribution. We don't have that means. We don't have a monthly book. It's hard. There's thousands of Kickstarters that you're competing with. And, do you remember, look what Image happened to Image. When they took 3 months to put out the next issue, people got bored, forgot, lost interest, moved on.
yeah.
That's what you're fighting if you take that long between books and on your crowdfunding. So it is very difficult.
Yeah, our LCS guy, guest star Michael Tierney, he has a phrase that he calls it the expiration of expectation, where if you wait too long, nobody, it's like you said, nobody cares about it anymore. It's and late books, they've been the death of mainstream books. Well, not the death of, but I know that when Watchmen was out, I was, alive and collecting at the time. And it was a good 6 months between 10 and 11 and 11 and 12. It was just forever. You were coming in every week. So did it come this week? Did it come this week? We still bought it, but it was annoying.
But again, indies don't have the backing of those characters that you love. Because even if Batman's been written badly for the last 5 years, you're still going to invest in that character, hoping he comes back to what you wanted him to be. We don't have that luxury. So when we take 6 months, they don't come back and still buy it. They go, well, you know what? You don't care about me. I don't care about you, So,
well, somewhere along the way, you decided to become a creator yourself. I'm going to assume that, with all the artists in your stable, that you had one to pick from for doing the art on this, or did you go out and outside your I'm losing the metaphor. The people
Stable's fine, yeah. Yeah, Ricardo Silva is the penciler and inker, and he is an artist that I have the great honor and privilege of representing. And I thought his lines would be perfect for the book. And Chris Graves is another artist that I represent. who was helping with art direction. He's doing some roughs um, to help the process along, and of course, it just Chris has really added a wonderful element to the book in the action scenes. Getting different camera angles and things of that nature. So the two of them together have just been phenomenal. And yes, I represent them both.
I was going to say, I know that Ricardo Silva is a familiar name. I don't know why it's familiar. It is. Chris Sotomayor, of course, is very familiar name. So
Oh yeah.
this is these aren't people from completely out of nowhere. Perhaps with the writer as the exception here for creative side of things.
Right.
People in comics are gonna be like, "Oh yeah, Phil's doing a book," and people reading comics are like, "Who's Phil?"
Exactly.
So why did you decide to get in the game? Why did the coach decide to step in the batting box?
So long story short, I've been collecting. I'm 49. I've been collecting comics since late 70s, early 80s, and back then you didn't have the opportunities you do now. So thinking of making a comic was absurd. But I always wanted to. I always wanted to write and create, but I just never did. Life did its thing, got in the way, blah blah blah. I got very sick last January, and it was actually almost fatal. And I was in bed for 6 weeks, and after a hospitalization, I was home, and I'm like, you know what? I want to do this. I've got nothing but time now, which is something that was never afforded. We think the biggest currency is money, it's time, and
Oh yeah.
you don't realize that currency until it's too late when you're older.
You don't earn any
And
more of it.
right, right. And I had this vision in my head. It just popped in my head of tragedy, what she looks like. No name or anything. Just saw that it just popped in my head. I don't know why one day. And I was like, this is interesting. So I decided to just go with it. And while I was lying in bed and I was on oxygen and all this good stuff, I just started writing. I had no idea what I was going to do. I just started writing. It came on the page. Um, I handed it to my wife, who was very worried that what if this is horrible? How do I tell my husband's horrible? Because one, she's a bad liar, and two, she knows I wouldn't want her to lie to me. I don't want to be the guy on um, American Idol who can't sing and embarrasses himself because my family lied to me my whole life.
William Hung.
And she looked at the script she read. She goes, "This was great. This was really really good. This was," and I was like, "Really?" So I threw it at a few people, and they said, "Yeah, I keep going." And I've written 20 issues so far. I've only published two, but I have 20 scripts.
But you're ahead that far. So
Yeah.
Ricardo's drawing all of them, or are you like passing them around to different artists? Because the reason I say that is, we've had folks on here who've done books, like they've got the 5 books done. Austin Huff is doing the masters. It's 5 issues, but he's written all 5, and he's got a different art team on each book, so they're working in parallel.
Wow.
So they'll be like boom, 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 and release.
That's a great idea, but this is Ricardo's book until he doesn't want it anymore. I think he's amazing to work with. He's a wonderful human being. He has no ego, but yet he's very talented, and we have a nice back and forth. Both of us, there's no ego. He may come up with something that I didn't have in mind. I'm like, you know what, that works. Let's do that. Or I may, if I come back with an edit and say, I'm sorry, can you change this? He changes it. I love working with him. I think he's awesome. Chris Graves as well, doing the roughs. I don't want to downplay that. Another one, no ego. Just, hey, can you switch this? Boom, it's switched.
Yeah.
So it's really his to lose, to quit if he wants to, because I'm not getting rid of him off the book.
Art direction is very important for a comic. That's something beyond the script, because we've all seen. I just give the most basic of examples. We've all seen panels where you got person A and person B talking, but the dialogue balloons are on the opposite side, and you have to cross those streams, and it's very awkward to pull that off.
And I'm going to say I am very guilty of that. That's where my novice writing comes in, and I'm learning quickly, but which is not Ricardo's fault or the letterer. Ricardo and I didn't think to put the first speaker on the left side or make that notation in the script, and Ricardo didn't either. So my poor letterer Jason Meadows had his work cut out for him. And the sad thing is, if when you have to do that as a letterer, he's going to get the blame. Jason's going to get the blame for all the lettering. That's my fault. I didn't put him in a winning position, but that's going to change this issue. So,
but an art director can catch that and flip the panel if needed. But yeah, letterers. I always say letterers are unsung heroes of comics. It's a thankless job. If you do your job right, nobody notices you did anything. If you mess up, that's when you get their attention. So
that's right. I agree. And bad
you
lettering
don't
can
want to be
ruin a book.
noticed as a letterer.
Right.
So what is the story going into Tragedy and Grace O'Connor's origins and reason for being?
So Grace O'Connor is an Irish assassin in Manhattan, and her father was the head of the Irish mafia, and when she was young, he didn't tell her about it. She didn't know about it. He kept her away from it, and he was a very loving father. Her mother is not in the picture. That's discussed later, and they used to share time going to the theater. She loved theater, and she loved ballet, and she became a ballerina, and her father has a right hand man, Seamus, and Seamus has a wife, Deirdre. The father is murdered. He's the head of the mafia, right? I mean, you're playing with fire.
It's going to happen.
And Seamus takes over, and they can't have children, so they adopt her. The problem is Seamus is a sociopath. So at the age of 16, she's sent away for 12 years to learn martial arts, grapple fighting, MMA style fighting. So she has a Chinese master, and she has 2 years with a military combat expert. And he turns her, molds her into this weapon. So the story takes place, roughly a year after she's back from that training, and she's in her full form. And she's basically the assassin. Her job is to carry out duties and protect Seamus. Now, she has daddy issues for having lost her father, and as much as she hates Seamus, she wants and needs his respect. So it's a struggle that she deals with, that I know I shouldn't want or need this, but I do anyway, and it makes her stay his puppet. And she's living a life that she doesn't want to live. Hey, Greg, what's going on? Rick, Roy. She's living a life What's that?
We have a full chat over here tonight. Everybody's popping in to see your book.
A lot of great people in the chat, and I appreciate everybody who's coming to hang out and listen to me ramble. So she's living a life she doesn't want to live, and she doesn't know how to get the life she wants or if she even deserves it. So she has these internal struggles. And while she's doing that, she's obviously fighting rival mafia. There are metahumans in this book. There is ancient Chinese mysticism in this book. There's spirituality in this book, not on a preachy level, just part of the story. I'm tired of books that are preaching the writer's beliefs or putting politics or, if you read my book and you know what I think about a specific subject, I have failed you. Period. My job is to write an entertaining story, and that's it, because you're trying to escape all that crap. So I shouldn't be putting it in my book. So that's what I try to do here. There's a lot of action. I think comics gotten away from a lot of action. So I have like 8 pages of fights, but the exposition is there. It's not drawn out, boring exposition. I don't feel it needs to be. And there's an adversary in the first book. His name is Breath of the Dragon. He is unbeatable, basically. She fights him. There's a shocking ending in the first book. The Breath of the Dragon, there he is. Thank you. He has a power set that is revealed in the second book that I don't think anybody has ever used this way. And I'm so confident of that if anybody finds a Western comic book dated prior to my conception of this story, I will give you any cover, foil or not, whatever, free to you if you want. But the first person to do it. First person to do it will get whatever book they want.
All right. Well, you heard the challenge, folks. Get out there and first buy the book to find out what the power set is, and then go out and that's clever. That's a good way to get people to buy the book, so you don't have to tell us what the power set is. Funding on this one right now is for issue 1 and 2. It's basically for issue 2. It's just that you can get 1 as well because you've already done 1. what was your time difference between 1 and 2? I mean, what's your turnaround schedule looking like on these?
It was longer than I wanted it to be, but basically, the first book was from 0 to in your hands in 4 months. Then we went to
Okay,
Indiegogo right away.
that's good. But what about the turnaround from 1 to 2? I mean, how long once you
Right.
got that cliffhanger ending?
Well, once we got that, we went to Indiegogo. It was let's see, June, July, August. It was about 4 months. I wanted it sooner than that. I wanted to do quarterly, but unfortunately, it was about 4 months. But the fulfillments are always quick. I mean, literally, you get your book within a month of the end, a month to 5 weeks of the end of the campaign. So,
Okay, that's
but my goal
excellent.
is
I mean,
quarterly.
a new book every 4 months is nothing to sneeze at. As long as as long as you're consistent with it, yeah, I think people are happy with that. Especially, since they do cost a little bit more than the newsstand books by necessity and by virtue of the smaller print runs and stuff. So
Yeah, and I also
every
do
three
a
months is
cover
good.
contest for every issue to support, because there are a lot of artists out there that don't have published credits, or maybe they want more and they're trying to make a name. And not that not arrogantly thinking my book is anything special, but offering opportunity for a paid cover to anybody who wants to join the contest, and if they win. And the people who don't win, I still send them a printed copy, virgin, and trade set of their cover on the book, so they get a published credit, and they do have a copy of their own.
Well, that's excellent. The fact that it's a paid cover as well. I mean, this is not a for exposure kind of deal here.
No, I don't believe.
Uh,
What kind of rep would I be if I believed in for exposure? Everybody gets paid. Everybody's time
exactly.
is important, and our artist's time is just as important as anybody else's. So absolutely.
Well, do you have a link on this page here about the cover contest, or is there another place where they can go to find out about that?
I don't. If they just go to my Facebook page, Phillip Russertt, my name, I post about it all the time. The deadline is March 1st, midnight Eastern Standard Time. You don't have to do a full color. You don't even have to ink it. If you just want to pencil it, that's fine. And if you win, I'll take care of the rest. You could submit either just pencils, you could submit inks, or a full color. It's up to you. We'll trade dress it and go from there. And there are people that didn't win, but they were still so good. I use them on future campaigns. So you may not win the contest, but you may still be a cover for a future issue.
That's you can't ask for more than that. God, your artist is so phenomenal here. I mean, I saw this first thing I posted on Twitter today when I first posted out to get people back the book was as because we need more ginger heroines.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, Roy Mercado is in the chat. He has an amazing cover. It's one of my favorites, and it's probably the best looking in foil on the campaign. It was on the first one, but it might be listed in the catch-up tier. But that's Tyler Kirkham right there, who's a major Marvel DC cover artist who did that tragedy picture. Not the book, but the background there.
The background, okay.
Yeah.
You get there's multiple. This is a number 1 issue. You can go back and get the backup of this. I saw that. Let me see here. There sometimes it's very difficult to follow the tiers on an Indiegogo. It's like, do I look at the left or do I look at the right? Which one's going to do it better? So wow, they just keep going.
Yeah, I'm a big art fan. I like to support artists. I like to hire them. I have a book of art. I have a book of cover art. It's every cover that's been published for Tragedy. And we have Will Spatasio covers, Ian Churchill covers, Larry Stroman covers, Sean Chen covers, Tyler Kirkham, Alex Sinclair, and Al Garza, Ryan Kinkade, and a plethora of amazing indie artists that you may know. So there's 50 covers in this book with a wraparound cover by Chris Graves, colored by Russ
That's a
Cassidy.
lot of covers. Makes it a long campaign to scroll through. But I think the way that campaigns are going to go in the future, and I could be wrong, is that they'll have covers just like this, but they're going to take more advantage of the add-on where it's going to be like, hey, here's the book. Oh, you want a different cover? Add it on. Or,
Right.
choose it from a drop down of
And that's why I did the book of covers, because it's not me trying to get you to buy the same book 5 times. I don't want to do that. I don't like that about Marvel and DC. I strictly have all these covers because I just want to support artists and I love art. So I did the book of covers so you don't have to sit there and say, man, I love the Tyler Kirkham, I love the Ryan Kinkade, I love the Ricardo Silva, but I don't want to spend, $55 on the same issue. Okay, no problem. You buy the one cover you want, and now you have the book of covers, and you have every cover, and you can enjoy that art. And I didn't rake you through the coals because I don't want to do that. People work hard for their money.
When I see a cover that I really like, but I've already maybe bought the book, or I bought the book under a different cover. A book of covers is one way to do it. That's certainly, you can sit down and enjoy the art. When I find the one picture I like, though, I like to get it as a print. And then, I drop it into a frame, and I put it on the wall, and I look at it there.
Well,
technically, I guess you can do that with a book of covers if you don't mind bending that spine back and dropping it down in a frame.
Yeah, and we also have a PDF version of it, so you could just get the downloaded PDF and you can print it up as you see fit.
There you go. The PDF is what I was looking for here.
Yeah, it's probably listed as an add-on only. I didn't do the page; someone else did. But also on the bottom, we have add-ons of the black and white, the original scanned art of the Tyler Kirkham, the Ryan Kinkade, Idan, and Al Garza that are comic size. And I did a comic size because if you do buy the book in color, you can frame the black and white right next to it, and it's symmetrical. It's nice,
Yeah. I'm looking down here.
By the way, I'm sorry, real quick. They're the add-ons of the prints, and then right above that, Roy Mercado's book cover is there. His is the far right top, right there. That's Roy Mercado, colored by Russ Cassidy. It's amazing. We have a Hulk 181 homage, which I think is, forgive me my bias, I think it's awesome. Tom McFarlane Hulk 340. The Ian Churchill, which is the most popular seller. It's a beautiful cover. To the far left on the top is Chris Graves with Russ Cassidy. The second one is Chance Wolfe, another favorite of mine. He's the inker for Spawn in the 90s and a bunch of other Image titles. And that's Steph Wilson, who's pretty big in the indie community.
I run into Steph Wilson's art a lot. Very distinctive style when he applies it. Chat is talking here. Evil Animosity, you're saying that Kickstarter gets all your money because you get your stuff. I've heard that, but I think you just backed the wrong horses in that race, sir, because I back a lot of Indiegogos, and I've got a stack. I get all of them. In fact, there's only 2 Indiegogos that I have not gotten. One of them will never happen because the guy's dead. So sorry, that happens. And the other one, believe it or not, is by a former Marvel writer and artist who is about a year behind. It's Paul Jenkins in Fairy Tale. So we'll see if that one comes through. But I think it's on a boat. I think the book is done and sitting on a boat. That's what happens when you get your work done overseas.
And that's another thing. I print in America because I don't want to run into that. And some people say, yeah, but you can get it cheaper overseas. I'm like, well, not really, because the shipping you pay for overseas kind of knocks into that. 1, 2, you're not supporting American small business, and 3, with customs, it could be a nightmare and delay everything.
Sure.
And if look, people work hard for their money, and some people don't make more than $10 or $15 an hour, and I'm asking them to spend $15 on my book. The least I can do is say, all right, look, I'll pay the extra money if it means getting your book in your hands on time.
Very nice Snow White Disney reference there.
What's that?
Someday your prince will come, Clyde. Yeah, I can hear Snow White singing it now.
I just feel
and you lose money. You lose money from future sales if you have to wait forever for a boat to clear customs.
Right.
Plenty of printers here in the U.S. who do a great job. I get shipments in all the time of quality books printed from small printers and large ones alike. Mixam is obviously a big choice among people. Kablam as well. They all do a great job. Unless you want something like super special done, I know that there was a thing with, I want to say Mixum, but in case I'm wrong, I won't commit to that. Somebody needed some spot gloss. They advertised spot gloss on their website. Creator paid for spot gloss, and then the printer said, "Oh, we don't do spot gloss."
Oh,
Um,
jeez.
yeah, she was very upset, and it delayed the publication of her book because she was done, but the printer screwed up.
And that's the printing is not an easy job, believe it or not. But there are some that are top-notch pros, and there's some that, yeah, you should stay away from. As far as the Kickstarter thing, I was on Kickstarter. We did over 10 grand. We were very successful, and I'm grateful. Indiegogo, I'm yet to really get a large following, but we're working at it. I look. I understand there are people that strictly support one platform or the over, and over the other, and I respect that. I respect people's convictions. So I want to put it on both to present it to the full audience. And if you like it and you're interested, then fantastic. I don't want anybody to sacrifice convictions or to feel, bad about pledging. So, go to the platform you choose.
Yeah, exactly, and it's almost it's a political / religious divide for some people, but honestly, it's just a method of making money.
I just want to put out a good comic. I don't.
Yeah,
I have my beliefs that I align with for the most part, but when it comes to comics, I think that's supposed to be the medium that kind of brings us together and forgets about all that. So
yeah,
that's where I put my
exactly.
hat off and hang it up.
And even without that, the two platforms attract different readers. I've basically been the way I've seen it break down is that Kickstarter is where all the bad girl comic stuff gets sold really well, your Lady
Right,
Death kind of stuff, and then Indiegogo is where a lot of the '90s image reminiscent stuff does really well. The big superheroes with the big guns. Um,
right,
but if you just pick one and you don't use the other, you're leaving money on the table. Um, the
right,
the accepted method is Kickstarter, finish your 30 days, move to Indiegogo, do your 30, go in demand. And then
right.
you've covered all the bases. And because Kickstarter, you can't stay in demand. So, just do it
No,
in the right order and then leave an online store up.
and
Um,
yeah, I mean, I like I said, I just want to get the book out. Hopefully, enough people read it and they like it. I mean, it's just me trying to pursue my dream. That's all it is. There's nothing else involved for me, and I would never screw over any backer. I mean, I don't understand anybody that would. My pride is in giving you the best book I can. I mean, if you look at the pages you're showing, it's a quality looking book. Ricardo and
absolutely.
Chris and Jason have done a wonderful job, and kudos to them. And it's for you to decide if you like my writing or not. Some people love it, maybe somebody doesn't. I don't know. Reviews have been great, and I'm very grateful for that. But everybody's got their own taste. So all I say is give it a shot if you don't mind, and if you don't like it and you don't want to come back, no problem. But give it a shot. I think they'll like it.
So I don't know. I didn't research to find out what it did on Kickstarter before, so I don't know what you made on the Kickstarter side of it. Uh,
It was over
but
10 grand.
okay, well that's excellent. There, that's a good job. Because my question was leading into with all the covers on it, eh, doesn't that at some point eat into your potential profits? Because you've got 50 covers, but you may only print like 3 of one, 50 of another. And those smaller press runs, they cost you money, right?
Honestly, that's absolutely right. I could probably pocket a lot more money and save not doing all these covers. But again, I feel like money will come in time if my product is something worth buying. I want to try to bring as many people along as possible, so I want to hire artists. No, I'm not spending $2,000 on cover to get it because I can't do that. But I'm okay with sacrificing some of my profit margin if I got an artist a job. I do. I feel we're a community and we're supposed to help each other and we have to put down our swords and just let's support each other because at the end of the day we're all just trying to live a life we want to live and be happy and create and feel productive and just and feel like you know, a good feedback and a positivity about what we're putting out there. And I think, even if some people are lost in their mind about what politics they believe in, I mean, I think to the root of it, that's basically what people want when in the comic community. And I want to support that. I mean, there are some people they're too much, and yeah, I don't want to support that. But for the most part, I have friends on the left, I have friends on the right. I'm not into extremists by any means, but I can get along with anybody otherwise. Yeah, anybody that's willing to openly converse with you. Um, but again, comics is my escape from that.
Yeah,
Comics saved me from a shitty childhood. Excuse me, sorry. Um, so I don't want to make a crappy adulthood. You know what I mean?
exactly. And I don't even myself. I don't even mind political comics if because I've got plenty of them. Because
Right.
there's you can pick it up and say, hey, Reagan's Raiders. That's probably going to be a political comic. Or if it's like the person's own creator, when it gets me is when some writer gets picked up onto an IP that people have years of invested interest in, and they like, oh, I have a recognized mouthpiece now that I can
Right.
bullhorn my
The
words
comic
through.
should not be your pulpit. It should not be a writer's pulpit. Oh, you failed.
Yeah,
Nobody reading my book should know what my opinion is on anything, because if they do, I failed. You
when
know.
you write
Um,
Superman, you have to give Superman words that Superman would say. He's not your
right.
borrowed bullhorn or
I mean,
ventriloquist
think
dummy.
about. Someone said to me, "Yeah, well, that's not true because comics have always followed the social climate of the world." I was like, "Yes, that's true for the sake of a story, but it wasn't it wasn't the angle of the writer that it was written. It was what was going on. Like if I wrote right now about riots and burning, but I didn't inject my opinion on it, then I'm writing about what's going on in society right now.
Yeah,
If I inject my opinion two or four, or why justifying it for this reason or defying it for that reason, now I have failed you because I've overstepped the boundaries of I'm not using the current climate as a backdrop for a story. I'm using it as a pulpit, and people
and
don't
and
get that.
and if you did write about riots as a current climate, you wouldn't get your book published. Ask Mike Barron. He's
Right?
doing Thin Blue Line and was
I know. I
turned
backed
down
it.
from a number of publishers. So for people who need to catch up, you do have two different catch up tiers here. One is that you can get both issues as a digital PDF. We have a lot of people in the chat who have to have the PDF version for one reason or another. $12 for two issues.
Honestly,
There it is.
yeah. Look, they don't know my book, and it's a lot for somebody to invest their money in me. So if they just want to get a $6 PDF, try it out, and if they like it, continue. That's wonderful. Just give me a chance is all I ask, and I appreciate that. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want you to dump a ton of money.
And if you need a physical book, you're one of the guys like me. You've got to have it physical. You missed the first issue. This is your first time hearing it. It's my first time hearing about it. So you still have copies of 1A, that original. I guess that would be your standard cover for issue number one, since
Yes.
it's 1A.
And by the way, book one is 30 pages, no ads. So I'm giving you a double size issue. It's not like Marvel and DC are 17 pages for crying out loud for $6, right? $5.
Yeah.
So I'm giving you a
Are they down that
double.
low now? They used to be 22.
Well, it's 22, but they have like 4 or 5 pages of ads. So it's really 17
Yeah.
pages of content.
But
Yeah.
it used to be 22 pages of story because I counted them one time. And
Really? I think it's down to like 17. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Somebody pick up a book. I haven't picked up a mainstream book in a while. So,
I
feel
wouldn't
free
be
to see
surprised.
if I'm wrong.
I did a study one time with my comics, and I pulled out like 12 issue runs of Justice League from 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And yes, I have them. And I counted the number of stories in that 12 issue run, the number of pages, the number of panels, and the number of words. And my eyes were crossed, and my gut was clenched. And then I ran the cover costs across them and adjusted for inflation and said, yeah, I know comics are more expensive. I know this things have happened, but are we getting the same amount of entertainment for our money? And the answer was no. Something happened right at the 90s where the cost per word, the cost per panel went up because we were getting fewer words, fewer panels, fewer stories, because you started getting,
Right.
6-part stories in a 12-issue run. There's like, whereas, in the early ones, you were getting sometimes 2, maybe even 3 stories if it was an 80-page special. And what can I say? It's a different world than what it was. Yeah.
So yeah, book
You
1
got
is 30 pages. Book 2 is 26 pages. I don't
That's what I
write
was
for
trying to
page
ask.
content. I don't write for page count. I write for when telling the story that needs to be told in that issue. And that's the beauty of indie, right? We don't have a corporate law to follow. I'm not bound by a page count, and I'm not writing for a trade paperback. You know.
Yeah. Well, you want to at least write to a multiple of 4, if it's all possible, because that's what
Yeah, because of the
takes
print
for layout.
count. Right.
You've got all these different covers here. The first several of them, are $15 books. Pick and choose. I mean, what? Oh, okay. I
Alex
thought it was going
Arabia right
alphabetically,
there.
and then skipped.
No, it goes by. They went by price.
Yeah.
That cover right there where she's falling is Alex Arabia. That is the winner of the second cover contest.
Very nice. Very nice. That's a good looking cover. I wish I could click on it and get it bigger, but it won't do that.
Yeah, I'm sorry I misunderstood you. I should have sent you. I would have sent you. I thought you wanted for the repping. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I get it. And by the way, great stuff. That Spider-Man picture, I'm like, can I print that? It was a really good picture. And then you got the other artists. Now, at some point, you had to decide what artists were, $15 covers and which ones were $20 covers. I'm guessing, they have rates, and you have to accommodate those rates. And that drives the
really
price.
It's just exactly. It's just accommodating the rates. Like I said, I don't try to gouge anybody. I believe in capitalism, but I also don't want to take advantage of it. I understand people work hard, and not everybody's making a lot of money. And if you want to spend it on me, I'm not going to try to soak you. I just don't want to do that.
Yeah. But these are still pretty much standard prices for a crowdfunded comic. People are used to that. People understand that because they're funding something to make it happen, and it's going to be maybe even from an investment standpoint, they're looking at saying, yeah, it's an expensive comic, but they're only making 400 of them at the max. Sometimes,
right. I'm in a lot of comic stores all over the country. A lot of them have ordered several orders again, and each time they were ordering like 15 books. Is that a lot in the scheme of things? No, but from a nobody it is. I've sold over 1,500 books at this point of book 1, and again, is that number big in the grand scheme? No, but for a little nobody who came out of nowhere, it's not bad. Hi Diana, how are you? Thanks for coming out.
We love Diana and her husband Chris. I should throw that out there. Love them both. Have them on our show frequently, and they're another couple that you should talk with and get on the Hero Shack program with them and talk about the book.
Oh, I know them. I know.
Oh
them.
well, there you go. Well. Great Cyclopean, Cluster Fudge, good stuff, and internet trolls coming soon here. It's our trolls exposed or something like that. I forget it. Scrolling through here, $20.
It was actually Chris who reached out to me today. I didn't even know about that shout out on Twitter. Chris is the one who told me.
Oh. Well, it worked. I mean, you got funded, so.
Yeah, I know. I thought it was very kind of him to do that, and I was surprised, that he did it. So I mean, thank you. There's nothing when people are looking to share and spend that time. I can't say anything but thank you. That was very kind.
Yeah. Now, as we get to the $25 covers here, we start to enter the world of names where you might be even more familiar with them. I know Ryan Kinkade. I think I've sat next to Ryan Kinkade at a Wizard World at a table.
Oh yeah, good guy.
Because I think he had prints for. He did a lot of Zenoscope covers, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
and it definitely looks like his style there. She's wearing the sort of the opposite of the Joker. She's wearing the tragedy mask, which, hence her name. Tyler Kirkham, the same. This is the one that you're using for all.
Yeah, we just flipped it.
Back.
Thanks to Russ Cassidy, who did the page.
Chris Graves again. Who's doing the art direction for the book itself. This is the book of cover art,
and it's a wraparound cover. I should have said
excellent. So this is the book that's going to have all the different covers in it. If you want to see them all, Ale Garza,
with Alex Sinclair, Jimmy's colorist, is on that too.
I didn't even see the smaller print there. Yeah, this is a book of known talents here, and some soon to be known talents.
I like to do a mix.
Now the book of cover art, black and white. Is it all black and white interior on that one?
No, it's the same exact book, but some people liked the gray tones that Chris did without the colors. So I offer it. That's the full wraparound book, front and back. I offer it in a black and white cover or a color cover. But just so you know, the opposite is on the inside. So either way, you can't lose.
Okay.
So if you have the color cover, the gray tone is on the inside. If you do the gray tone outside, the color's on the inside.
So it's like the cover is one sheet and you just flipped it.
Yeah, on the inside. Yeah, it's still a double page that you flip open. Yeah.
Perfect. Roy, you're right. They definitely need to grab all the covers. They're like Pokemon. You gotta catch them all.
Listen, and I'm very serious about this. You guys have to see Roy's cover in foil. It's just insane. I also have Roy's cover in the black and white he did in his inked, because it's so gothic. It's so cool. It's one of my favorite covers, and he's just a really amazing artist and a great guy.
And you can get everything story wise and art wise with the Tragedy 1 and 2 and the art book PDF. These are all 3 PDFs. You can get the digital art book's a PDF too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And then you could just print out whatever you want as a print, or make your own art book out of it. Whatever you want to do.
There you go. I got.
Does Tragedy have any powers? I cannot say. I'm sorry, but what I'll tell you is, at the end of the first book is very shocking. People were really surprised by what I did. And then they loved me and hated me with a smile for what I did in the second book. So I really can't give that away. I'm sorry.
You got it. You're going to have to get the book, Ibex.
And that's not me giving a ploy to make you buy the book. I don't want to ruin the book for people.
Sure. Have you?
I don't want to do marketing ploys like that. I just honestly don't want to ruin parts of the story that are revealed later. That's why.
Are you doing any prints or other? You had a stretch goal thing here, so I should go.
Yeah, I have prints in the stretch goals, and those are people that were runner-up in contests. Robert Powers did that chibi set of Breath of the Dragon and Tragedy, but they're like 5x7 cards. The 8,000 mark, and we're not going to meet these numbers, unfortunately, because I just don't have that following or backing yet on Indiegogo. But we have several: Mano Silva and Gary Giroux and Aaron Moses. So a lot of indie guys that joined the cover contest. They were runners up, but they didn't get the grand prize. So with their permission, I made them prints on the campaigns.
What size prints are you looking at? It says mini print. Is it like a 4x6 postcard or?
No, it's a comic size. I did comic size because, like I said, people like to frame up covers, it doesn't take up your entire wall, and it's all symmetrical, the nice same size. That's why I kind of did that.
Oh, it does take up your entire wall. It just takes a lot more of them to do it.
Yeah, right.
So we've got to get this thing up to 14,000 people. That's there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, because there is the print I want. Click the link below the video if you're watching on replay, or even now. It's also pinned at the top of the chat. So go out there and throw money at this if you'd like. In fact, we haven't we haven't reloaded the page since we started. It was at 7:01 when we started.
Oh, that's right.
Uh,
Kickstarter will just show it, but you have to reload the page on
yeah, I
Indiegogo.
got to reload this one. Apparently, either I reloaded it. Yeah, it's at 7:01. It stayed at 7:01. Thanks for nothing, chat. You're making me look bad here now.
No, honestly, let
That's
me
right.
say this too, by the way. I've heard people say, oh, I did this show and I didn't get any money, or I did this show, they only had this many viewers. I am nobody to be shunning anybody's invitation to be out there and exposed, first of all. Second of all, even if that number doesn't go up during the show, there are people in this that might contemplate doing it or talk to somebody and say, hey, I'm not into it, but you should check this out, or watching later.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
what you're doing for me right now is huge, and I really appreciate it. And trust me when I tell you that number, I will definitely at least get one or two backers out of your show. I know I will.
A lot of people come through the replay because live streams. There's
Right.
so many to pick from. We've got a really good crowd tonight. 13 people watching according to the chart right now. That's for me. That's big numbers. Okay, that's
Is it my
for the
handsome good
last.
looks?
It must be people knew you were here and they said, I want to meet this guy. I
Yeah.
bet you were asking how much for a digital copy. Yes, it is $6 for number 2, but if you haven't seen one, make sure that you are aware that you can get both of them for $6 each, and that one is of course a higher page count. So for 12 you can get both books.
Yeah, the first book is 30 pages, and I just found out some people do the PDFs, but they don't include the cover. You just get the interiors. I didn't know that. I include the main cover with it.
I've seen that happen a couple of times. And people came to me because they were on my show, and I went to them. I'm like, hey, is this right? They're like, well, yeah, it's just the story. I'm like, yeah, collectors don't like that. And they're like, oh, well, then I'll fix it. And because it was,
Yeah, no,
just another.
I don't. I can't understand not including the cover. Absolutely. So you get the cover, the 30-page story. It's the entire book, just in digital format.
Now this just kicked off a few days ago here, like less than a week ago. Is this your first 30? It's got to be your first 30 days. Of course it is.
Yeah.
It is the plan to go 30-30. Okay.
It's going to go
So
30, and then I'll do like 2 weeks in demand.
All right. And then, you're delivering in March, which means basically the time you go in demand, you're fulfilling.
Honestly, it's probably going to be sooner than that. I want to over deliver, not under deliver. Chris Graves is here. We talked about him quite a bit. He showed up.
Yes. Mr. Art Director is here. I was just going to put his name up there. Evil Animosity. No, there's no video. I did look.
I had a video on the Kickstarter page, and we didn't transfer over to Indiegogo, unfortunately. But I did have a trailer for the Kickstarter.
Yeah, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll download the video off of the campaigns, and then I run it at the beginning of the program with the other videos. It's easier to play on StreamYard if you do it that way rather than share the page or share the screen that's got the video with the sound. It chops and it halts, and it's just no fun at all. So I'm not going to go through all the tiers here because it's a book. You can get 3 books. You can get lots of books together. Y'all can read. You're buying comics. You can read. So read the tiers.
But it's about pictures.
It's. I'm stopping here because I just now saw this one. I've seen this picture probably 5 times during the whole campaign, and it never once jumped out at me that it was the Batman the Animated Series version.
Yeah, it's an homage to that. And I love the way Nick Justice, the artist, used her ponytail and the sword to mimic the cape that Batman originally has flowing out.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's some real imagination there. Yeah, we're getting better views of the covers as you go through here. Scroll through, folks. Look at the images here. Pick the one that's going to work best for you. Pick all of them if you can, and then get your books in March because it's ready to fulfill. So I'm guessing that Ricardo is already done with art pages, or at least on like the next to the last page or something like that.
Oh no, the book has been done. As a matter of fact, it's at the printer right now, and I should have it in a week or two. I have, as a matter of fact, if I could, I'm sorry, hang on.
We'll give you the big screen. Look at all that
Sorry
art on the
about
wall.
that.
Look at all that art on the wall.
I have I have the proofs, which are approved, of course, and I can kind of just do a quick. This is the book of covers. This is the color version. Chris Graves, who just joined the chat, and you've got and it opened up to Chris Graves' cover. But
Look
anyway,
at that.
it's all the books, all the covers in a row without the trade dresses, except for the homages. We had a a couple of color variants, so we included them. So it's just, I mean, granted, it's my character, but we have a nice group art. This was my wife. She did a wraparound cover,
Oh, that's nice
and
looking.
yeah, and Larry Stroman, and we have Will Spatasio, and there's what you were looking at, and
Now, people, did you hear that in the chat? Larry Stroman, Will Portaccio. Yes, this is a crowdfunded book, and Phil's just dropping names like he's talking about Pete and Mike from the bar.
well, again, I'm fortunate because I'm a show promoter. I run my own show, and I've had them as guests on my show, so I've developed relationships with them. So they've been very kind to me. And there's the one that you like. So
Yeah.
that's the book of covers. It's 50 pages. It's thick. It's worth it. And then of course I've got the book 2. It's looking pretty. Chris Sotomayor is obviously a professional Marvel DC colorist. He's been on probably everything you've like probably the majority of your collection, and he did the interiors, and he did an amazing job, and I appreciate that. So this is the Alex Sarabia winner that you were talking about, that I was showing you. This is the one that won the cover contest, and he's got a print run. He actually sold quite a few. Russ Cassidy is the colorist. And then, you've got the, again, these are the interiors of the book. I'm trying to give you a professional level book. I do have a lot to learn. We're just going to get better as each book goes. But again, I don't want you to feel your money wasn't worth it. That bothers me. I don't care if I walk away with $100,000. If you all felt like you were cheated, I'm not happy. It's not worth it to me to do that.
Well,
but I'll take $100,000 if anybody wants to get it.
Definitely take the $100,000. Everybody's showing up here at the tail end of the show here. Sister Mercy says Ricardo is amazing, and by the way, Sister Mercy is amazing. If you haven't read that book, I urge you to get it. I've got
Corey Hardiman.
Yeah, I've got the Sister Mercy magnet on my refrigerator over there. I got a little sticker over here. I've got her framed on the wall behind me here. Little mini print. So, like I said, those mini prints will cover the wall at some point in time.
Yeah, Ricardo does beautiful work on that book too. So, absolutely.
I don't know what more to ask about here. Are you still doing shows? Because COVID, hit you personally, but then it also hit all the shows.
Yeah, I'm on hiatus for now. When I come back, my 2-day show, I have a lot. I'm gonna have an artist alley that is gonna really kick ass. But I'm just waiting. I mean, with everything going on, unfortunately, New York's state government, they're out of their mind, and they'll throw a mandate at the last minute that just derails your entire business. So I'm just gonna wait, and then when people feel safe and they're happy to come out,
Exactly. Well, you could always go to California. I'm sure it'd be easier there.
I'll stay out of California. I already got my issues in New York.
Oh, all right. So we, Rick, we are actually planning on having a show for crowdfunders where we have multiple on at a time, and whenever somebody's book gets backed by somebody in the chat, that person has the right to request the creator to do a karaoke. We're going to call it "Sing for Your Supper."
Trouble. He's causing trouble because my kids come on my live stream and they love Baby Shark and they sing it and it drives me crazy. He's just a troublemaker. Go back to stay. I love Rick. Great guy.
So, but it's an idea we're throwing out there. It's I'm stealing it from Indie Volt folks. Another show that you should be looking at is the Indie Volt team. They do backer shots.
I'm going to be on Indie Volt in a week or two, I believe.
There you go. Yeah, you're hitting all the right people after you get past me. They've got the wonderful show. No, thank you, but I appreciate it. But yeah, they've got a great show called Backer Shots, where it's like, hey, get the pretty ladies all together, and every time somebody backs the book, they all have to take a shot. Who doesn't want to get the women drunk? So it's incentive to back the books. They sing Pantera better than they sing Baby Shark. Okay.
One Plump Nation, that's a friend of mine. Yeah, that's never going to happen. There is nobody in my book named Safe Space for Snowflake. Not happening.
Yeah, even the new Warriors didn't happen. But the first thing I'll tell you, the first thing I thought when I saw your character was Rags. I'm like, oh, there's a character. Even if it's just a pinup, there needs to be a team up between the Rags team and the Tragedy team here. And if you
Rags team,
yeah, it's Rags is the name of the book. Regina Rogowski is the main character. She's redhead, she's freckled, she's killing zombies,
okay.
And she's pretty much forever in the search of a pair of pants.
That's cool.
It's a fun book. It's really well drawn, and that's why I thought the two styles would have complemented each other quite well.
Very cool.
And they fight for the gingerarchy, which is why I posted said we need more ginger superheroes.
And
our
may
ginger
I just
heroines.
say this? This is not just an urban street tale. No, she's not a knockoff of Black Widow or Daredevil or anything. It's not that at all. You have my word. This is a story that is different. Like I said, you have metahumans, you have Chinese mysticism, you have mystical forces, you have a lot of stuff going on here, but it all makes sense and it all wraps nicely into a package. This isn't Black Widow, and I stand by that. You read the book, you'll see that this is a story that is not that at all. It's nothing like that. So, if anybody thinks there's a comparison, as far as why it's in New York, that's because that's where the Irish Mafia was in the 70s and 80s. That's the Westies. The Westies were in Hell's Kitchen, actually. That's where they were. So to try to ground the story a little bit in realism, because obviously, she's in superhero tights jumping from buildings, I tried to add elements of actual historical things, including the first emperor of China and things like that as the story goes.
Yeah. Obviously she's wearing the tragedy mask and takes her name from that. Of course, the tragedy mask is only half of the theatrical mask. So
right.
It makes me wonder, do you have anywhere of an idea of a foil for her down the road? Because she's half of a thing.
I thought about it, but I felt it was too cliche, so I didn't go that route. But she does have her Joker to her Batman, which I introduced in the script that I wrote, script 15, and has been the current arc that's going on now through 20. But the truth is, if the book actually gets a good following and people continue and I get to make that many, the fans will dictate who the Joker is, so to speak. They'll always dictate who the arch enemy is because they're the ones who are going to gravitate to the villain they love. So,
yeah, even if you've killed it, they've got to say, when are you going to bring back this character? Like, well, I got to figure out a way to bring him back from the dead.
Right. But yeah, I try to stay away from as many cliches as possible. If you can look at the character designs, I designed them myself. Ricardo drew them wonderfully, but I gave him all the references down to the stitching on her vest. I don't think they look like other characters. They don't. Breath of the Dragon, I think, is pretty original. So I try to, we all are. We're trying to come up with things that are a little fresh and new. Or if you're going to write like Jeff Johns with Aquaman, you may write something that's been done, but write it better. Write it, change it up. And that's why Jeff Johns, to me, is a very underrated writer. He took Green Lantern, he took Aquaman, and it's not so much that he did some amazing, whoa, I've never seen that before coming, but he just wrote it in a way that made you say, man, that was so damn good.
Yeah, he's a master at taking this, the plot threads of the DC universe, and not only making it read, like you said, man, I never saw that coming, but getting to the end of it and saying, why did I never see this coming? It was so obvious there all the time. I'm convinced that Doomsday Clock was rewritten halfway through the script because I just thoroughly believe that when he was writing it, he was going to take that scene from Green Lantern 40 where Cronus sees the electric blue hand holding a galaxy and Dr. Manhattan saying, I think I'll go create some now, and have that explain why the DC universe gets rebooted all the time. Because if you read Watchmen, Dr. Manhattan made a big deal about how he cannot time travel. And yet in Doomsday Clock, he seemed to be doing it all the time. And the only explanation for what we saw and what was actually happening was that, nope, don't like it this way. Crumple it up, throw it away, start over. And when I get to this point, do it differently.
Well, they don't want to hire anybody to do research to keep continuity. That's why they keep rebooting. They don't want to put those boxes and you have to go back and check. It says issue 123 while you're now at 1112, So,
yeah. You know what?
You're right. Cliches aren't all bad, but like I said, it's how you do them. Exactly. A little.
They become cliches because they work, right?
Yeah, I don't think he did as well with TV movies either. But I definitely love his writing as comics.
He on TV, I will say this: Stargirl is amazing. I absolutely love that show. I will say that he didn't do as well with the movies. I don't know what other TV shows he had a hand in. If he's had a hand in The Flash or the others, I thought that was all Greg Berlanti doing that. I think the CW superstars have run their course. I can't see them being any better. Even Superman and Lois has, into its second season, is starting to fall into the old familiar CW angsty. Yep, here's the formula. We see it coming.
Yeah, I stopped watching it. Yeah, and I'm sorry. I like anti-heroes as much as the next guy, but Superman, Wonder Woman, and Captain America, leave them alone. They're what we aspire to be. Leave them alone. Stop making them always angry or negative or dark. Don't bring them down to us. How about we try to rise up to them? That's how I feel. We have Batman. We don't need Superman to be Batman. Enough. He's always the villain now, or he's always angry, or he's, his eyes are blaring with the red, and he's It's like, what do we need an angry Superman for? We have the Hulk. We have Batman. We have enough angry people. Stop. Leave them alone.
Exactly. All right, Phil, thank you so much for coming on to our show with such short notice tonight. This looks like a really fun book. I am going to be adding it to my buy list. I've got time. I'll do it soon. I can't do it tonight, but I can do it tomorrow. I get paid. So
honestly, and I don't hold it again. I'm not. If you don't back it, you don't back it. If you're not interested, you just don't have the money, or there's a Kickstarter you like better. Just support the indie community. Is all I'm saying. That's it.
As Daphne Lage is fond of saying, buy indie comics, especially ours. And you'll probably meet her on Indie Volt. Folks in the chat, thank you so much for being here tonight and having the turnout for Phil, making him feel welcome. Like I said, the link to this project is right below the video. Click on it. It's still pinned to the top of the chat. If you're still here, you can get to it that way as well. We don't have a show if you don't show up. So thank you for being here. And as always, while you were here, we just hope you had a blast. Good night.